All right. Good morning, Ms. Smith. As you know, today we are going to be talking about your lesson plan for your energy types. We do have our teak breakdown that we established, so let's go ahead and take a glance at that real quick and just make sure that we are still aligned. So for this unit, what is, and this is lesson, what is your readiness teak or your main supporting teak that you're focused on?
That would be 6.8b. The student should be able to describe the energy that is conserved through transfers and transformations in systems such as electrical circuits, food webs, amusement park rides, and photosynthesis.
Perfect. And so you did identify what they need to be to do. Step one is identifying the types of energies, and then two would be how they are transformed or transferred into one another. What portion are we focused on during this lesson?
So I'm gonna break it down. Part one and part two focus on just identifying those types of energies first, and identifying them as kinetic or potential, so they can see how they are transferred second, but they have to identify those first.
And you do have that listed as one of the first things they have to know is the type of energy, so that's perfect. Okay, and when we were looking at your post-assessment, what alignment did that have for the types of energies? Do you recall how many questions or if there were?
Yes, so I have my test pulled up for you.
Perfect.
Based on the assessment, it does break it down. This 6.8b is heavily tested as well. Let me pull that back up real quick. Lovely.
And I'm gonna go ahead and pull our UBD up just so we can confirm that as well.
Give me 1 second. Okay, so yes, for this one, for this assessment, it has 4 questions. This is 6.8b. Usually they have it broken down. They don't have it on this one. It's usually where they have it, and we did take the assessment before planning this one. The copy I have printed in my classroom does have the broken down part, but based on this part, yeah.
So 6.8b,
the
2, 5, and 6,
7, 10.
So let's look at 2, 5, or so 5 through 7 and 10 real quick.
Okay. How do you open that one? Two.
So
There's a picture of a guy eating an ice cream. And the question is, which type of energy is being demonstrated when you eat food and later use the energy to ride a bicycle? So you have to make that connection of what energy is here, highlighting eating food, and what energy we have to be able to ride a bicycle.
Right, so we are mainly looking at what would be considered like a DOK1, DOK2? Identification of energy first.
Yes, correct? I would say DOK1 because we're identifying those types of energies.
Why do you think I may have identified also a DOK2, leaning into a DOK2 based off this test question?
I would say because they have to be able to describe the energy source, like going from one to another, and not just identifying, but seeing how it could transform from one to another, basically. Yeah.
And in addition, you also have your image, right? So they have a visual that they would have to analyze as well.
Okay.
So we have your text that says eating food, but you have, that text is pretty small, right? So some kids may just look at the two images. So just something to be aware of as a potential misconception if they aren't reading the test thoroughly, like we've seen students in the past. That could be something that we can address. Okay. Let's look at 5 real quick. Okay. So again, having to identify chemical and then over to light.
The energy transformation. This one's a DOK2. They have to be able to identify the initial energy of how to create the light. A lot of kids have misconceptions that it's electrical due to the wiring in there. So whenever we do go over like the starting, the initial types of energy, we do have to talk about the different chemical energies and electrical. So we have specific examples such as the battery working in toys or remotes. And then if we're focusing on electrical, it's more so like the ones that have the electrical plugs, or we talk about cars as well, but with chemical, because those have batteries. But distinguishing those.
Okay. 6, an amusement park ride, energy is not conserved when. So that's just conservation of energy when it's being used versus transferred.
That was actually one of our highest missed questions last year.
Okay.
No, and most of it was because they weren't looking at the words inside of the answer choices. We emphasize the law of conservation, but because it's an energy that is not conserved, it kind of confused them. And they were looking for how it was conserved and not conserved, so it confused them a lot.
The wording.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. And then 7, transforms electrical energy into. Okay. So that one again, they have to know when the light bulb turns on. So they have to have some background knowledge, which hopefully all students know, but we definitely want to ensure that they comprehend that, like the light bulb may be something not all students are familiar with. Like they might call it a light versus light bulb or something like that. Perfect, okay. And then we said 10, correct, was the last one?
Yes.
This one starts to get into photosynthesis. So we can pause on this one for now. This is gonna be one of your later units, okay. Perfect. So when we look at your lesson, I know there's a lesson you just did this week that you would like to look at and kind of tweak a little bit. Before we get there, let's go ahead and talk about your objective for this lesson. So what is your objective going to be for this upcoming lesson that will directly tie to what you had me write down, which was foundationally, right? Being able to identify the types of energy.
Yeah, so I think my objective for this one, because it can get overwhelming when there being so many different types of energies, making the notes more interactive, and allowing the kids to do more of the teaching and not me.
Yes, so we'll talk more about the lesson itself in just a minute.
Okay.
I want you to think of your I will, we will.
Okay.
Like your objective for
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, the we will for what are you as a class gonna do.
Okay.
And then our I will is gonna be that student that directly ties to the exit ticket.
Okay.
And so all of these, you're both your I will, we will. We want it to directly tie to your TEK, which we know we're doing a portion, right? A scaffolding of that TEK. And it should directly tie to what they're gonna see on that assessment, which we just analyzed. And we said, really, they have to be able to look at the image, read a text, and pull out words to identify a type before we could even talk about how it's changing, right? Or how it's being conserved.
Okay.
So thinking of that, this is what you would be entering on your WAG,
Mm-hmm.
right? And on your board.
Mm-hmm.
What do you believe you would like your we will?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what y'all are doing as a class.
Mm-hmm.
And your I will.
Okay. Now I'll probably get your advice on this one.
Mhm.
So our we will would be to define these terms, identify the different types of energies, and define them together, correct? Because they're new words. But after we've defined the terms, the I will for the students would be able to use these scientific terms to identify the types of energies
Mhm.
with the table partner, or entering the question with a partner for a specific category, being able to explain how that energy ties into the picture to someone else. But how would I build that?
So there's a couple ways. So based off the UBD,
Mm-hmm.
they really only have one that's focusing on the types. All the rest are focused on transfers.
Mm-hmm.
So the district's providing you that I will compare and contrast gravitational, elastic, and chemical potential energies
Mm-hmm.
with kinetic energies.
Okay.
What portion are you covering all energies?
Mm-hmm.
So both potential and kinetic?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And are you gonna have them compare at all on this one, or are you doing straight identification?
Identification first.
So this is day one, foundational, correct?
For
Type of
introducing
energy.
types of energies. Yes.
Okay. So we will, are you taking notes on it as well?
The types of energies.
Mhm.
Yes.
And y'all are creating the doodle notes,
Mhm.
correct?
Yes, it helps with visuals of examples of each one too. So it helps.
So how about we will create doodle notes to identify the types of energies for potential and kinetic.
That was my tip.
Right.
Okay.
I'll provide this to you.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
no worries.
I figured.
I'll give you access, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so if that's your focus, you're gonna create doodle notes to identify the types of energies for potential and kinetic.
Mm-hmm.
I know we have some interactive portions and stuff to give them practice,
Yes.
right, to solidify that understanding. That we will is really gonna be your component of what? So you have your do now,
Mm-hmm.
you have your see it,
Mm-hmm.
name it, do it, exit ticket.
Mm-hmm.
Your doodle notes are gonna be what component, since you are modeling and you're walking them through that.
I would have to say see it.
Correct.
Yeah.
So you're showing them what those successful energies are, how to identify them, making it applicable by using the doodling,
Mm-hmm.
let them be a little bit more creative, color, make it. So you're definitely humanizing that lesson for them the best you can, right? Sometimes these concepts are challenging, so.
Yes. And overwhelming.
Yes, so your we will definitely be your see it.
Okay.
And then by the end of the lesson, so we're kind of jumping past
Mm-hmm.
the interactive part, so we'll come back to that.
Okay.
But at the end of the lesson, your reflection,
Mm-hmm.
that's gonna be your I will. Your I will should always tie in to your reflection. So essentially, after we go through our see it, our name it, right?
Mhm.
What they're gonna be able to identify the types of potential and kinetic energy.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same as your we will. We're gonna have them have some practice time where you give feedback, and we'll talk about the interactive and get some tips on that.
Okay.
But that exit, that reflection,
Mm-hmm.
that exit ticket needs to really match the rigor
Okay.
of that end goal assessment. So we really need them to be able to identify,
Mm-hmm.
based off of either textual evidence or a visual piece of evidence, what type of energy is being presented. Because at the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
Your goal is to know, did I hit the mark? Before I even get the transformations, can they identify, right?
Okay.
So what would you want them to be able to do with that?
For this part, after we've already created those doodle notes, I want them to be able to use those doodle notes as a reference tool first, to be able to identify the examples, but be able to explain why it would be that energy. I only say that because it's one thing to identify it and guess it and be right, but you have to be able to explain it, which kind of I won't say rigor, but it's the way that they have to explain it using sentence stems or as accountable talk cards, anything that kind of assist them. But being able to explain it does kind of.
Okay, so we're getting into the do it. So we'll pause the exit. We'll come back after the do it, just so frame of mind's in the right spot. So we have our do now. You're spiraling back. Potential kinetic. We have our see it. You're modeling those doodle notes, talking about the types of energy.
Okay.
The do it, you're gonna have them do some interactive pieces. And let's talk about that do it you did this week that you liked, but you want some feedback on.
Yes.
So that came from Tuesday.
Yes.
Okay. And it was not the spoon one, correct?
No.
Okay. It was the
questions.
Okay. So when you do work, you are exerting blank.
And so the kids on their handout, and this was provided through, I'll have to pull up that document and show you. But
so they had a handout with the questions.
Yeah, with the questions, and it was multiple choice. And they were supposed to turn and talk with their partner based on the category, answer the question, but be able to also explain how they got it with their partner and why they chose it. And then when they were done, they would end it with the talking piece, or put your hand on your nose, or put your hand on your head, something like that.
And so as I'm looking through here, energy stored, what, if you had to think back to Tuesday, what would you say was something you were missing, or you could do slightly different to align more to that assessment, to give them more at bats, if you will, with those types of questioning in terms of
maybe doing more of the visual parts, like I had visuals in part A with the spoons where they did a red and a green, because I remember last week you were telling me like incorporating that on the screen so that they can see, but I have it here with just a visual but no words clearly, but then on the other ones I have words but no visuals. So I feel like maybe giving examples that involve not just handout and multiple choice, but like giving them the topic on the screen and on their handout, that they have to kind of not just circle if it's right, or be able to discuss it, something in the picture, like here they would have to discuss it with their person.
Exactly where I wanted you to go.
Okay.
Exactly where I wanted you to go. Yes. So you have two different types of questions, but if you notice on the assessment, they always have a question with some kind of like compare, rigor, something in there, but they do give a visual.
Yeah.
And so the kids have to, like in case, especially with our ED Pop, right? We want to make sure students have a visual to connect, but also have to read that question.
Yeah.
And so I would definitely say combine.
Okay.
Maybe look to pull some old STAR questions, and we can edit them, right? Like if it's a transformation, but look to pull some of those images, because then you're gonna get, we have a lot of super fun images, which will make it applicable.
Right.
But let's start there and maybe scaffold into the STAR images,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Like, yeah, and we can start, you also noticed you said multiple choice. I would say maybe start with like the fun images with multiple choice.
Okay.
And then what are your thoughts on scaffolding into STAR images
I think
/ questions with sentence stems?
I think that would make it a little bit more rigorous, because they are higher level questions compared to the fun pictures
And
and more real world and instead of
right. So I mean,
animation.
these animation definitely pulls them in, right?
Yeah,
These are
gets them in.
videos, movies, things
Yeah.
that they've been intrigued in.
Uh-huh.
But this would be similar to a roller coaster, right?
Right.
So then maybe have this picture and the roller coaster, and you
Okay.
could have them compare
Mm-hmm.
what type of energy are we seeing, how did you know, and you could have maybe even a couple prompts where you could have scaffolding questions,
Mm-hmm.
right? That you read, but then you're probing them to turn and talk, and then you're cold calling.
Okay.
And then you talked a little bit about sentence stems already.
Mm-hmm.
So I really like how you had them moving around the classroom,
Mm-hmm.
right? So like same shirt, and you don't even have to write it on there. You could have the question, you could just verbally say, find somebody, or what, another easy way you could do it.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't want to do that, do 2 different colored Post-its. So somebody has yellow, somebody has pink.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like musical chairs.
Yeah.
And then when you stop, they have to find somebody with the opposite color,
Okay.
and they just stop and talk.
I like
And so, rather than giving them another question or something,
yeah.
it's a lot quicker. So
Okay.
you can stop
That saves
within
time.
2 minutes, and so that would help you create randomizing grouping very quickly,
Mm-hmm.
and then kind of go from there. So that's
I
very
actually like that way better because I did give them 30 seconds to find their person, but it was not stopping the fact that it was almost the same person. Like, oh, that's my best friend. Of course, we have the same color, favorite
Right.
color. Of
and
course.
you can intentionally kind of
Yeah.
separate
Yeah.
certain things, and you can also say, like, if you've been with somebody, talk to somebody once, you can't talk to them again.
Right.
So you can always go back on that if you have to, right? If you're 2 people, we talked, it's okay, you're good this time.
Cool.
But I think that would also help with quickly randomizing.
Okay.
So we have some ideas now to make it fun, applicable, humanizing, get them to interact,
Yes.
talk, use our sentence stems. Remember to identify them and maybe put them on the board.
Okay.
We have our cards, but we know with our SPED and our EB Pop,
Mm-hmm.
those can be really overwhelming. So
Very
maybe pick 2 agrees, 2 disagrees,
Okay.
and those are the main focused ones that we're going to do during the day.
Okay.
Agree and 2 disagree. And then, now they do all that, they've had lots of practice, they've had like times to talk, collaborate, you're cold calling, you're no opt-outing.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing I do want to follow up with no opt-outing, remember when a kid, if you call them, they don't know,
Mm-hmm.
right? You could let their partner phone a friend.
Mm-hmm.
Then I want you to get in the habit of having that person repeat. So tell me what Billy just said.
Okay.
That's the true no opt-out.
Okay.
Because otherwise, I don't know, Miss Billy said it. Okay,
Yeah.
listen, because you're going to tell me what Billy has to say. So now we're making them
Mm-hmm.
responsible for their learning again.
Love that. Okay.
So we're through here. Now let's talk exit ticket. How are you going to know the last 5 minutes of class?
Mm-hmm.
Did they get it?
So would it still, if I provided a picture
Mhm.
and I told them to list the energy they identified in the picture and identified that action, is that still doing a do it, or can I, that would be a good exit?
Are you doing it individual?
Yes.
Okay.
So they would have their own copy, half paper,
Mhm.
nothing too crazy, or in their journal.
So maybe
I
I'll-
could provide that picture on the board, or they could write it in their journals.
I would do half sheet,
Okay.
or
Mm-hmm.
if you have them like write it in their journal, right? Remember, we want to be 60-40,
Yeah, okay.
60 spoken, 40 written,
Okay.
which means like 60% of the time you want them to speak about it, 40% you want them to write about it.
Okay.
If they do it in their journal
Mm-hmm.
and they're not talking, collaborating, have them have 30 seconds to talk with the partner,
Uh-huh.
clarify in case there's a misconception.
Mm-hmm.
As you're walking, making sure you're listening to who's correct,
Okay.
having them speak to end on the final good note.
Okay.
But you want to be making note of, if you're not collecting it,
Mm-hmm.
who has that misconception,
Mhm.
so you can address it the next day.
Okay.
Because this is really, your exit ticket is going to let you know, can I move on tomorrow?
Okay.
Because you might have a class who's off.
Right.
And you're like, okay, tomorrow's due now. It's gonna be a little bit longer. We're gonna have to go into the do it a little bit, the see it, to really make sure that we are in a good place before transformations. Because we have some, and I would do one, maybe two. One is a little easier, one's a little more challenging.
Okay.
Can they get a basic one like chewing or riding a bike, right?
Yes.
Do they understand one like a car or a battery, or like some of the ones that we often have misconceptions?
Yeah.
Because then you can spiral the exit ticket back into the do now and correct that misconception.
I can do it.
Perfect. So I will be able to list the types of energy in the picture.
Yes. In real world scenarios.
Types of energy from real world scenarios.
Yes. That's a common word we use a lot in our I will statements, because most of the questions are more so real world scenarios.
Did you want them to explain how they knew and explain why it is that type of energy?
Yes.
Or okay. To your elbow partner?
Because they'll be with their like partner of the same,
So you actually have both attributes, written and spoken. Your biggest thing you're looking for, quickly glance at the written, but you're listening when they speak out loud, is the why.
Okay.
Can they identify the why? That way, when they are getting to those upper levels, they can start to see the connection. Okay. Perfect. I think we have a really good plan. I like the little edits we did. Don't forget, for some of your students, you can scaffold a little bit more than others. So if you need a separate worksheet with more sentence stems, so they know kind of what they need and how they, the type of energy is blank.
Yes.
I know this because the guy is blank his food, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you start very like, you give them a lot, and towards the end, you're really removing it to see if they can put it together. So, do you have any questions for me?
No, it's really nice to see it broken down this way at the, we will part, because I feel like as teachers, we kind of get into the I will, where it really should be the students will and not the we will. So I think this will definitely allow them to be accountable for their learning and not just depending on me to teach it, explain it, and demonstrate it.
Your see it is only going to be about 10 minutes, right? You're going to model that, you're going to show them those notes, and then give them the resources to really practice with fidelity. So I think it's in a really good spot. I'm curious to see how that goes, and remember, guided discourse, sometimes it's challenging. Just keep with it, give them the sentence stems, and remind them. So if they're not using them, remember guys, I agree with, and coming back.
Okay, perfect.
All right, perfect. Well, thank you so much for your time. I'm excited. I'm gonna go ahead and plan to come do an observation on you this time too, so that way we can follow up and see how it all played out.
Sounds good.
Perfect.
Thank you.